Pro wrestling fanatics, welcome back to the 10 Count, 10 topics, 10 conversations covering the hottest headlines and happenings from the current world of professional wrestling all the way the blast from the past. Hey, as always, I'm that art of the beat of the beat, Richard Bronson, Vickrey. Hey, but we're kicking off this week's episode. It's all about the man on the other side of the screen because Raw is POZ. Yes, John POZ, two-man power trip, was in the historic MSG Arena for a huge Raw. Man, POZ, I've been looking forward to hear about this experience that you had this past week.
Packed house in MSG, over 20,000. I thought 19,000, but I was looking online. It was over 20,000. It was jam packed. It was absolutely sold out. They actually cut off the entranceway because they want to sell more tickets. I love when they do that. I feel like that's a
Well,
smarter
there's
way
more
to go about
intimate. You
things.
get that like old school
Yes.
vibe with it.
Yes, I know. I love that when they do that because screw the entranceway. I mean, it looks cool on TV, but when you're there, it's way better not to have it. It's just we fit way more people in there. The merch lines were nuts. It was crazy. We got our Jey Uso merch, me and my son. We got our stuff. But man, what a I don't know. I just thought it was a great show. Really fun, really exciting. Penta was in the dark match. My son loves Penta, so that was cool. We had Jey Uso coming out first for the first match. We had Cody on the show. We had a Roman Reigns surprise appearance. It was a
At
really,
MSG,
really good show.
it's New York, the mecca of professional wrestling, the mecca of arenas, of entertainment in the world. Of course, but you'd mentioned there, man, very cool. You got to share this with your son that said has just become a super fan when it comes to
Yes.
pro wrestling.
Yes, he's becoming quite the mark, if you will. Yeah, he loves it. He always tries to watch Raw. If he falls asleep, he'll watch it the next day on Netflix. He's just become a super fan. Loves Jey Uso. That's his absolute favorite. But he also loves the Punker. He does love CM Punk as well. He loves Cody Rhodes. He's kind of like your typical babyface fan. You know, as a kid, you like all the baby faces.
Yeah.
Otis came out before the show. He was with Tozawa. He hates Ludwig Kaiser, but he loves Otis and he likes Tozawa. He hates Gunther, and he hates that I call him Gunther instead of Gunther. He hates that. So,
How,
you know, he's
how,
like
how, how old is your boy?
9.
He's 9 years old. That is the perfect time to really
Yes.
take it in. You're getting that connection with the characters. As you said, though, you love to see that with the kids, and you're raising them right. You're that old school fan. We grew up loving the baby faces, where you didn't have to be, you weren't ultra cool to like the villains. You just you fell in line with them, man. And what was right, what was good, that's what you cheered for.
And he was yeeting away. He was loving the entrance with the song because we went to a house show before. You know, it wasn't Jey Uso wasn't on that show either, but it wasn't like the pyro and the fire and and all the pomp and circumstance. I said it's going to be way different when you're at Raw. I was like they're going to everything. I was like it's going to be loud. It's going to have the music pumped up. You're going to see the pyro. You're going to see the fire. You're going to have all that. And he loved it. He loved the whole experience.
So the Paws household is a yeet household.
Yes, we're yeeting away. I like Jey Uso, baby. He loves Jey Uso. That's like his guy. It's like his favorite wrestler, for sure.
Now, okay, so as you said, places packed. You've got the little guy there. What was the crowd like? Was it? Did you see a lot of other families, a lot of young fans excited to be there, or were we talking about was the key? How was the key demo in the building compared to the
It's
rest?
funny, and even at the house show too, which obviously house shows are probably different, more geared towards families there. But to me, everyone's it's all old people. Not really. I saw a ton of young people. I'd say half my age, just as far as like a grouping of people together. But definitely a lot of families. My son is because you're like, oh man, you got to wake up early for school the next day. So I'm thinking he might be one of the youngest people there. He definitely was not one of the youngest people. There were younger fans than him. There were tons of kids there. Even when we were waiting online before we were getting in, there was a WWE camera person walking around with a camera filming, and they kept asking the kids purposely because they would see the kids, hey, who's your favorite wrestler? Who's your favorite wrestler? And the kids, they're like CM Punk or Cody or Jey Uso, Yeet. And it
Really?
was
See,
a
okay.
lot of kids. Yeah, there was a lot of kids there, but kind of way more than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah, I really like that because you know me, I'm always into the marketing media of it. I love that you said that they had the merch, all of it laid out. The merch lines were packed. Now that's the interaction that I like. So they're out there getting the crowd hyped up. They've got someone on behalf of WWE with the interaction. That just adds to that overall experience. And there is, if you're out there, if you haven't been to a WWE, even an AEW or something special, when you go there live, you can't touch it. But also, I want to encourage people if you can go to an indie show, a local show, that's on a different level that you're going to be talking about for years to come.
Definitely. And just interesting, one kind of final point before maybe we talk about the main event of the evening. Just a final point. the merch stand. I haven't seen this before. There was a line before the line for the merch stand, so they tried to put people into a section. This is how many people were online to get merch. They put you in a separate section. Are you online to get merch? And then there was a middle security guy, and he led you to the next line. So it's like, man, this merch line is crazy. But hey, we got to do it. We want this merch. We got to wait on 2 different lines to get the merch.
Damn, that is awesome. Speaking of awesome, as you alluded towards there, you got to see all the big stars, but what a big payoff there. Main event, and we had as our topic here, going back 2 weeks ago, everybody buzzing about the Cena heel turn, wanting more with The Rock and Cody. Unfortunately, we haven't got that. What they've been relying on, especially with the Red brand, is trying to build up some heat, giving the ball to Punk, especially comes out with the Pipe Bomb 2.0. Him and Rollins into that big brawl to set things off 2 weeks ago. We get the big cage. You got to have a cage match at Madison Square Garden, right? And of course, Roman comes in here. First, pause. How was the vibe, the energy around that main event?
Huge vibe, huge just aura around it that we were like pumped all night for it. I think everybody was. As soon as Punk's hit, well, Rollins' theme song always gets everybody hyped too, but as soon as Punk's music hit, you felt like a different vibe in the building. You're like, oh, it's on now. Almost a little bit of nervousness too, because if Punk loses, what happens to Punk? I mean, what I mean? It was weird. It was like a weird kind of feeling. And me and my son, obviously very pro Punk guys, not big Rollins guys. No offense, he's good, but we were just more Punk guys. And like every false finish, we're like, no, because there was a few times we're like, oh man, Punk's gonna lose. Oh, that's terrible. Like, by a pinfall. So like, oh, that's terrible. We were into every false finish, and I was thinking to myself after it was over, it's an all-time classic cage match, awesome cage match. No way anybody can complain about it. But I saw a lot of people online were not happy with the false finishes. There too many false finishes. I said, that's weird, because the crowd, and especially being there live, was into every false finish. They were like loving it.
It changes that dynamic when you're there live. You kind of remove yourself from overthinking, what we've been trained to understand of what works, what doesn't work inside of a match. Even with our great friends over on the Russo brand with Stevie Richards and Ben Hameen, Ben and Stevie were talking about that, maybe not so many false finishes, especially the way that thing's going to end with Roman getting involved with it there. Place has got to be going crazy now. We were going to talk about Punk and Rollins carrying this thing. Now we've got this entire new dynamic where you've got Roman Reigns inserted into what's going to be one of the marquee draws for WrestleMania, triple threat. How do you feel about that match, Paz?
At first, when I read that was going to be a match, I was against it. But now, being a part of the action live and seeing how they kind of put it all together, I was like, how could it not be a triple threat? Because you can't leave Rollins out. You can't leave Punk out. Obviously, you can't leave Roman out. So it kind of has to be. And it's just the kind of the way it broke down, because you're not going to have like Roman in another match because The Rock's not wrestling this year. So it like felt like it almost has to be the triple, and then with Heyman now involved, with him helping Punk up, and then I feel like it has to be.
That's kind of the hook, because as I just mentioned, the guys over on the Russo brand, you check them out at Channel Attitude with their breakdowns each and every week. I mean, you're not going to get any better from the eyes of guys that have been there that know what they're talking about with those three, with Russo, Ben, and Stevie. But and they brought up a point with the 3 baby faces, essentially in this thing. Now we've got to decide. It's not so clear cut, but I'm with you on that. I think you add in that special dynamic of, okay, where Paul Heyman is the wild card in this thing. It's going to add the intrigue and the draw. And I think it might be a little interesting to see us have to choose, the Rollins fan base, which is probably the smallest, but then the Punk and the Roman base. Where does Paul play into that? Obviously, they're going to play up, is it Roman, is it Punk? But, we've all were surprised when we thought it was either going to be Ambrose or Reigns, and they went with Seth with the big turn. So it could potentially, what if Seth Rollins became the next Paul Heyman guy?
Yeah, that could be possible, definitely. And we wouldn't see it coming necessarily, because we're focusing in on Punk and him. And that was great, too, the finish with Rollins, too, because he nails the stomp for the second, and Reigns comes out of nowhere. Crowd went freaking nuts and pulls him out perfectly. Camera shot, everything was perfect the way he did it. And it's so funny. My son said to me, he's like, I don't think Roman meant to help Seth. I was like, I don't think so either, because he just cost Punk the match. But obviously then he just beat the living hell out of him. Like, yeah, that's he just wanted to drag him out of the cage to beat the shit out of him. But it's just funny that my son picked up on it. He's like, I don't think he meant to help Rollins win? I was like, no, he definitely did not. You know, it was just definitely by accident.
Well, speaking of beating the hell out of somebody, one of the big headlines, and it's been, that everybody's been talking about here for the last couple of weeks is when Travis Scott's involvement. A lot of, the diehard fans weren't, thrilled with him even being involved from the get go. But obviously, if we've seen Cody on television multiple times since then, and it's been reported, man, he took a vicious shot. Reported, obviously the black eye broke and some things there around the orbital area, but like even broke his eardrum. A lot of people upset. There were some rumors backstage that there was a lot of heat on Travis Scott, but now that we're getting reports that he is actually training for a match, so he's going to be a part of this thing going forward. I'll give you this one first. I think this might have been one of those things, to hear that he's training, that the shoot became a work because now it got all this attention. It's got the heat on it, so we need a payoff.
Right. 100%. I love though Cody was like, no, nothing. It was nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing wrong. And then you see his eye, and then you hear about the ear. So he's obviously just being a good soldier and kind of playing it off. But yeah, he's just playing it off. But you could tell, especially from that one fan that had that shot right there, he was laying them in. And somebody said, I saw somebody was talking about like, oh, come on, Cody, just suck it up. So he did suck it up. He didn't get up and shoot on him. He just laid there and let him hit him because he was supposed to be knocked out. So it's like he obviously let it happen. But good on Cody just to be like, no, everything's cool. Yeah, everything's all right. Yeah.
Cody, obviously he has the genes. The family knows about this business, and number one about this business is where to make money. And if Cody sees some money here, and Cody sees the crossover, that he's going to get us appeal into the hip hop and the rap world, let's bring it on, man. And it's going to raise Cody's stock inside the company.
Yep, and Travis Scott is now selling shirts, right? Wrestling is real, so he's telling you wrestling is real. That's why he did that, because it's real. It's real to him.
Unlike over on AEW, which we're going to talk about them here in a little bit, where you got their interview and people that are talking about how phony it is right there on the pay-per-view. All right, so another big win here for WWE. As we are getting geared up, we're on the road to WrestleMania. I know one of the main attractions each year of the extravaganza of WrestleMania, especially for people like us, is the Hall of Fame, because we get to go back and relive some of our favorites, as we were talking about those heroes and villains, all those great memories. Since last time we talked, we've got a couple more inductees. One for sure here, Lex Luger will be going in. Also, I don't know if they've done this officially yet, but I know it's a huge rumor. Looks like we're going to get this as one of the disasters has said it, but the natural disasters set to join a Hall of Fame. POZ, your thoughts, either, both, all of these individuals going and getting recognized by the WWE.
So not officially on TV yet, but Fred Ottman, Typhoon, did say they are being inducted. So
what a great guy, too.
He's awesome. So they'll probably put it on TV maybe next week or whatever, and they'll bring it up, but much deserved. It's one of those things too where you almost double take. You're like, wait a second, Earthquake wasn't in the Hall of Fame yet? Like what? Like, you know what I mean? I knew Luger because that just irked me forever. For some reason, that just really bothered me. But I was like, Earthquake wasn't in. I could have sworn he was in it. Like, oh my God, like that's almost like blasphemy. Come on, guys. Like you like, but still they're getting in now, so that's good. But I always think like, man, why aren't some guys in? Why are some guys in? Why do they keep these guys out and all this other stuff? But it's just great to see these guys get their flowers. I love the fact that we can go back, just nostalgic reasons on my part, go back and relive them, get the highlight package, have them get one last pop, have them get one last big payday. I'm always just a big fan of WWE Hall of Fame. I watch it every year. I guess a mark for like the old school guys, but just for them getting their recognition, getting some accolades again, getting that one last pop. And really, I love the nostalgia factor of it. It's like, wow, we can relive like Luger beating Hogan for the title and Luger slamming Yoko, and just like kind of now it's like all over the place. Like, oh, remember this Luger moment? I was like, oh yeah, that was awesome. So that's part of the Hall of Fame that I love too, is people kind of reminiscing.
Well, and also inside of that, we get to go back, relive those moments, and it gives the flowers. Even if we don't have a physical Hall of Fame, hopefully we get to that some point as the company moves forward. But to have that moment, but more so to open it up to a new generation like your son, that's going to come ask some questions. Oh man, these guys looked awesome. How awesome were these guys, Dad? And you can kind of relive and share those tales from those generations. So much going on is. On the road to WrestleMania. We're 5 weeks away here, POZ, from this thing. let me ask you. We've got only 4 official matches announced. We're teasing some other ones, like the big triple threat we just talked about with Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. We don't know any stipulations with that. We've got a few names for the Hall of Fame. We got Vegas, baby. We got stars all over the place that are going to be there. What is your overall 5 weeks away here? I know a lot of fans have expressed, some displeasure, concerns about the build so far. How are you feeling about WrestleMania right now?
I don't know. I'm probably different than maybe most people. I'm pretty high on WWE right now, and I'm pretty high on WrestleMania.
Now
The
is
Cena,
now is it going back to Monday though, or are you still feeling that buzz?
well, I feel like the Cena turned the corner because I was like, man, it's kind of been slow, but even like the Rumble, like kind of slow building. The Cena turn, like kind of to me, flipped the switch. I was like, okay, here we go. Now I'm interested. Now Punk is cutting this awesome promo. He's getting me, double invested. Who the hell is he wrestling WrestleMania? What the hell's going on? Then they announced the cage match. Then being a Raw, I don't know, my level definitely jumped big time. And wasn't into the triple threat match. Now I'm into the triple threat match, and I'm hoping that's going to be the main event of night one because I want Punk to get a main event spot. And how
Yeah,
could you have Roman on the card and not be in the main events?
and that's a lot of people were talking. Well, it's not for a title or anything. It shouldn't. You put the star
Doesn't
power
matter.
in the main event,
Yeah,
and I'm sorry that outshines any of the women's matches. The other
yeah,
men's championship match outside of Cody and Cena. To me, that's got to be in that spot for night one.
100%.
Overall feeling for me right now, WWE, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence right now. I felt really disappointed that we haven't got more from the big turn. I understand circumstances, but there's ways around that. Right now, you're on the home stretch. This is where you got to hook everybody. Actually, having a conversation with our local boxing tough man promoter, Eddie Markham, today, and I said, man, we're a month away ourselves. Our event's night one of WrestleMania. So we're on that home stretch. This is when you got to turn it up, man. You got to go full throttle on the road home to this thing. So let's see what they get. Let's talk about some other big fight nights in New York, right next door to Madison Square Garden on Tuesday. Man, I love this event. Big fight night feel for NXT and TNA as they had Roadblock at the small little arena right there next to MSG. Man, I was surprised you didn't go to this one, man.
I was like, oh my god, 2 days in a row driving to New York City. It's like, I don't know if I could do the traffic 2 days in a row. Not getting home. Getting home is fine because it's late at night, but getting there is like, ooh, that's I don't know, that's a bit rough, and you have to get up, wake up early the next day, and you're going to bed late. So that would have been too rough. But that definitely had a big fight feel. I'm almost surprised, not that they ran at the theater at Madison Square Garden, but that they almost didn't try to get a little bit of a bigger venue because that holds about 4,500 people. I would think though with this card they maybe could have stretched it out to maybe 6,000, 7,000, like if they went to a little bit of a bigger place. Just because I feel like there was a lot of momentum going into the show for NXT and even TNA.
Well, I think, even with a building contract that was probably included with the deal there, you want to run something unique for your smaller brand. You don't want to have it in that same stage as MSG. Man,
It's cool to say you ran the theater at Madison Square Garden too.
Right. And it looked magnificent. The way they had it set up, it had that old school energy to it. The place was packed. I mean, it was ceiling to floor, wall to wall, every seat filled up, high energy, all night had a big fight feel for it. It was probably, one of the highlights, if not the highlights for both of these promotions, NXT and TNA. Now, later on in this year, under the TNA banner, they are running a larger venue there in New York. So this might have been a little testing ground to see if these brands together can pack a house like this. I think at this other venue, it can max out anywhere up to like 7 or 8. And there was a lot of concern. Can TNA do this? They're going to have to get a lot of help from WWE to bring in some big names for this thing. So it'll be interesting to see where they go there. But certainly an incredible night there for NXT and TNA at Roadblock.
Very good. Good show. Good main event. Good finish. Obafemi goes over Moose was cool. The Hardy Boys getting a victory, basically a WWE victory if you think about it. I mean, pretty cool. Good show.
Yeah, it was cool to see them back under the WWE banner. All around it, everybody represented looked great. The women, I thought the big giants, our heavyweight, should have closed that thing. But I was a little bummed. But the women, they proved me wrong. They proved me wrong. They went out there and worked their asses off in that main event. But Plaza, our show today has been dominated by WWE talk, and hey, it's this time of year again. It's the road to WrestleMania. They are on fire, making headlines everywhere. Crossover. Let's talk about the competition here a little bit. Coming off last week with AEW Revolution, just had a big show this past Wednesday. They've announced next week for a big championship bout. Swerve's going to challenge Moxley for the title. Maybe share some insight to people you've talked to in the past. When you're a TNA, you're a major player, but you're that second. How do you how do you make your promotion remain relevant during a WrestleMania season?
It is tough because WB just absolutely dominates. So when you actually think about it, it's like, man, what could they do? And I feel like whatever they're doing right now is maybe the opposite of what you should do. Like they're doing another tournament. Then
Yeah.
they had Will Ospreay talking about how he wants the title match 4 months from now after he wins another tournament. So like, what are you guys? I don't know. I feel like if you want to be hot or you want to be relevant, you need some sort of hot storyline. They thought the Moxley thing was going to do it, obviously teasing that Shane McMahon was a part of it. That was like the whole tease. He's obviously not. And then everything went to crap after that. Since it did, they should have gave the title to somebody else and then try to create a hot angle with that or some sort of personal storyline, something blood feud, something, something intense. It's not hitting the mark. I know they're trying with several different feuds, but nothing is working right now, and more tournaments is probably not the answer.
I say, just throwing tournaments at the wall, never going to be the answer there. You did mention that blood feud. So, we've got something intense between MJF and Hang Person, Adam Page there. To me, there's a disconnect. I cannot buy into the Adam Page character as this tough guy. After going back a year ago, he's the cowboy driving a Prius with the bedazzled jacket, and all that. But it seems it is exciting, that fan base a little bit, but it's nothing that's growing their audience. Your hot program with the Death Riders, even their audience has turned on that thing.
Yeah.
I think a pivotal point for them is not these tournaments, not down the road. I do like what you said. We need a champion to get behind. I think they got to pull the trigger on it and give us the Swerve. Next week, go back to Swerve, but this time you got to do it right. You got to put a true focus on him. This guy has major star power, major crossover appeal. Even in hip hop rap we were talking about, you need to draw those eyes. You share a network with NBA. He's a guy that is gonna be. You can cross over. It's gonna look cool. That's gonna draw eyes to your audience. Not a lot of these other dorks that they're running out. But hey, I'm rooting for him. The more better wrestling around is better for us, brother.
Yeah, it just seems like some of the guys that they push, like Hangman Adam Page, like, is he a babyface? Is he a heel? He switches every month, and then they're trying to make him a tough guy out of nowhere. He's not really that character. He's pretty good in ring. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing with MJF. I just don't know how they can get the momentum going. But whatever they're doing right now is the exact opposite of what I would do. Yeah, I mean, you might as well go back to Swerve. I kind of don't know why he lost the title in the first place.
I was so aggravated, not even aggravated, angry with the way that first thing. Hameen and I, we have great talks about the media marketing of the business. We had months, years played out for him, and they threw it all away within 2 weeks.
Weird. I don't get that. Yeah.
Hopefully they can get that right. Let's talk about one of your boys that needs to be getting some stuff right, man. He is on a PR nightmare train. Your hero. We're talking about the heroes that we grew up loving, man. Hulk Hogan, man. First, booed out there in California.
Yeah.
Sued because a lady suffered a head injury at one of his appearances, and now he's bailing on appearances, all right there in your backyard in New York. A save right with the American beer. I guess they said they were going to be able to accommodate 200 people. You had people waiting for up to 4 hours. And believe me, I've seen a couple of these things. I went to check out these crowds. He is drawing still. Packed.
Yeah.
They waited up to 4 hours, and Hogan and his crew just get up and abruptly leave. POZ, I know you got his contact. You've had him on your show. He's been on the 2-man power trip. Yes. You got to get your boy right here.
So I got to give him excuse though here. For whatever reason, if you looked at the itinerary, I don't know why they had him doing, and I was asking a friend that lives in that area, they had him doing like this, and this, and they weren't that close to each other. So why are you saying you can accommodate 200 people when there's no way, because you had this itinerary or schedule that you maybe 100 people? You know what I mean? Like you go lower than higher because you're trying to do 3 different spots in New York that aren't necessarily right next to each other.
And New York aged in a bunch of these shows with talents before.
Yeah.
How? All right, so give us a little insight. We got a little extra time here. Give us some insight. How? Like, so you're the agent here for Hogan, or you throw out maybe someone you've actually dealt with this before. How do you handle that with the conventions or whoever's hosting the appearance about? Hey, these are the time restraints. We got to move. This is what you can promise.
Yep. Sometimes
How
you
do you
almost have to get
how
in
do you
there
do that?
too. Sometimes you literally have to get in there. You're like, okay, go. I'll take over the camera. I'm taking the pictures. Like, let's go, let's go. Like, you got 2 seconds. Let's go. Like, you try to move the people around quicker. I know Hulk. To be honest, when you do meet him, he's so like he tries to make every appearance like personalized. Hey, how you doing, brother? Like, you got a question? Like, and he tries to get every. So he might not be the best guy to get through the line really quick with, but if you're working with him, you got to be like, Hulk, we got 100 more people here. We got to get through. I feel like you have to tell like save right, like, okay, it's 100, not 200 people. You have 100 people. We only have 2 hours here, or whatever the
Set
time
the
limit is.
expectations
Yeah,
lower, so then if you
yeah,
exceed it and you say, hey, you know what, we got enough time for 10 more people, then you send them home happy
yeah.
instead of over setting their expectations for what
But I
actually is
wouldn't
reality.
blame Hulk because he's not the one setting this up. This is like the agent and the people with Real American. They're setting this up and they're doing that. So they're the ones that need to say, okay, maybe we don't do 3 events in a day in New York, all within 6 hours of each other. It like makes no sense. So I feel like it's on them because at his beat shop when he does signings, he'll stay there for hours on end, overtime, just to make sure everybody online got their picture and got their autograph, brother. And even got
I could
maybe
say,
a
you know what,
piece.
brother, this goes around the whole camp. This is a little fault on everybody because Hogan's been doing
Yeah.
this long enough that he should realize it as well,
Like he
and
should probably
and
say,
it's going
"What
to
are you
come back
doing,
on him.
brother?" Yeah, exactly. What are you doing, brother? You're making me look bad. Yeah. Yep.
Six shows just doesn't work for me, brother. That's what we should be
Yes.
getting there.
But but hey, I would put it first and foremost. I put it on like his agent though. Come on, you gotta get that crap together.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Hogan, I got a feeling that he might come up here in our next hot topic here. Let's go back to WrestleMania. This is a running theme I want to do over the next couple of weeks as we get to the showcase of the Immortals. We're going to talk about different our different experiences, memories. So let's get with a big one here. Let's talk about our most emotional, our personal, as us as little fans, or whatever phase of our fandom this journey that's brought us here, of our emotional WrestleMania moments. You want to kick it off? Or you want me to do this one, boss?
Sure, I'll go kick it off.
All right,
So I got a couple though. I'll run through them quickly.
go
WrestleMania
for it.
3, Hogan defeating Andre.
I think we
I
all got
love
that one. I think that's what brought our age group to wrestling.
Yes. I absolutely love WrestleMania 5. I know Savage technically was injured for that match, or maybe it wasn't what maybe people wanted better. I still love that match. Hogan winning is just awesome because of that feud, and didn't have the title for a year. Savage did. That feud is awesome. The Mega
See,
Power is
that's one of those
exploding.
dividers, though. I think that was one of the first and only times in my youth that I was rooting for the bad guy. The bad guy.
Oh,
I
oh
was
my
rooting for
God.
Macho.
WrestleMania 6 might have been emotional in a bad way. I was upset to would say the least. I was in tears after WrestleMania 6 when Hogan lost to Warrior. Hated Warrior for a while after that. Absolutely hated him. But it was very
Oh,
emotional. Was very upset that Hogan lost. That was not good. I was there at WrestleMania 10 when Brett won. That was awesome. Um, WrestleMania 20 was awesome. I know we're not allowed to talk about Benoit, but that was awesome. Absolutely marked out big time for that one. WrestleMania 30 marked out huge for Daniel Bryan. Love that. That was one of my favorites.
well, all right. So I wish we were kicking it back then, friends, as we are now, man. Because WrestleMania 6, it's up there with my most emotional. I was also in tears, but tears of joy as I was a little
Oh
warrior.
no.
I was
Oh
one of those guys that my mom would yell at me for taking all my shoelaces out of my shoes so I could have the tassels, run around in
yes,
my
nice.
underwear, have my mom paint the warrior symbol on my face when I was a little guy. But the most emotional for me goes 1 year later, WrestleMania 7. To me, it is the end all be all of WrestleMania matches. I don't care about technical classics. This had all the storytelling in the world. All the bit players came together. The retirement match, career versus career,
Oh, so
Macho
good.
versus Warrior. Retire a career versus career bigger than any championship because you can come back for another championship. This is everything on the line. You had the full circle coming of the greatest love story that we've ever seen in professional wrestling, with Miss Elizabeth coming back to reunite with the beaten and broken Macho Man. I sat there. I was so emotional with Warrior asking the gods if this was it. After the 7
Yeah,
presses and he couldn't put
yeah.
Macho down. Macho dropping the elbow drops, but to see the Warrior asking the god, that's when I was so emotionally distraught That's when they had to come clean and tell me that this was all a work. That's what that match did to me. It's sensational sharing. You go back and watch that. She made that
She's
match.
awesome.
She was an
Yeah, she's awesome.
extension of everybody and just proved why it is criminal that she is not talked about amongst the best managers of all time in professional wrestling.
That finish to me, because when do you ever see that finish, before or after? That you like where he just puts his leg, foot on his chest after just demolishing him and not being able to get the job done, and finally with the foot on the chest. That's such a great finish. Oh, I love that match. That's
Well,
one of my favorite WrestleMania matches.
speaking of
Should
the
be fun.
finish, it is time for this week's Pro Wrestling Pop of the Week. Hey, we opened up talking about how your little guy, 9 years old, loves professional wrestling. Well, on my end, I got a nephew. He's 7, going on 8 years old. He's starting to find some joy into this thing. So he gets Uncle RBV's Pop of the Week. He has a school project where they have to do a biography, read a biography, and create a potato head of that individual. So he chose The Big Show. Well, it's The Big Show. So he writes a biography, reads a book. He knows everything about him now. But you got to check this out, Foz. He's got to create a potato head of The Big Show. This is my Pop of the Week. My nephew
nice.
does Big Show, the Potato Show, the Big Potato Show for my Pop of the Week. Nice. Pro Wrestling Fanatics, thanks for joining us here on this week's episode of the 10 Count. He's Foz. I'm RBV. Pop, before I hit the send this record, who you interviewing tonight? I know you got a scoop.
I'm going to be on somebody else's show. I'm going to be on the wrestling.
Look, you blowing up, baby.
Yes. Yeah, Ray Russell's show, the Wrestling Grenade. We're going to be talking about the Monday Night Wars, so we got to get some good stuff.
All right, everybody, keep your eyes out for that, and especially keep your eyes out for us next week on the Two-Man Power Trip platforms, and of course here at the Hameen Media Group YouTube channel.